Welcome back. Mommy, My Body is Changing is a book written by an Ob-Gynae-Sexologist, Dr. Nompumelelo Zenda, with South African demographic and cultural mindset. Not only does it address the physical aspects of puberty and menstruation, but also covers mental and emotional well-being, grooming and self-care. Sections of the book have been created for parents and caregivers on how to guide and support girls. Well, she's in studio, Dr. Zenda, to tell us more about the book. Good morning. Welcome to Morning Live.
Good morning.
I'm pretty sure you gathered how excited I am, purely because I have a daughter. I have a 14-year-old. But what inspired you to write this book? And, you know, the title itself, you know, Mommy, My Body is Changing, which we all know, you know, with teenagers, they're all going to change.
Sure. It's actually, the influence was generational in the sense that I've got a 13-year-old daughter, so even like 2-3 years back, I realized, okay, I need to start having a talk. And you would think that as a gynecologist, it's easy.
Yes.
And I was just like, And when I realized how not easy it is, it also made me realize why it was difficult for my mother to have those conversations with me. And so I thought, you know what, parents and girls need something like this that will help just navigate the season of their lives and this phase that can be quite awkward for everybody, by the way. Like both the parent feels a bit, you know, taken aback, but also the child. There's so much information coming from outside. And for me, it was important that we nurture these relationships within the home.
How did you decide then what to put in the book, what to leave out, so that it's not too much information for the parents or the child?
So I targeted specifically what would it be like for a 9-10-year-old to be reading the book. So that was important. So the language was important in terms of it has to be suitable for somebody that young. But also in terms of what to take in, what to leave out. I mean, we kind of covered most of the important aspects of puberty. Although we didn't want to make it too clinical, there is definitely a lot of accurate clinical information in there. But also, like I said, first and foremost, underneath all of the clinical stuff, it's supposed to facilitate relationships between parents and their children.
How do you get around it, you know, for some of us who, you know, who grew up with not so conversational parents, you know, and who are trying to make a change to say, you know, I'm going to I'm going to parent my daughter differently. How do you even begin that conversation?
Look, I always say, by the time we get to things like puberty, the body changing, it's a bit late. I think we need to foster a culture where we begin to have more conversation with our kids. I think, you know, I'm always surprised at just how much my daughter wants to sit back and just have a conversation with me as a mom and figure out, are you interested in my life? And I find that already creates a very safe space. By the time you get to stuff like this, and fair enough, I had the advantage of having done the work in terms of as an obstetrician and gynecologist, so it comes as part of our curriculum. But I realized that a lot of parents possibly don't have this information, let alone having it in a way that it's broken down to facilitate those specific awkward conversations.
What do you wish you knew about puberty before becoming a gynecologist, a younger you?
I wish I knew about the emotional turmoil that you go through, because I really struggled with, you know, the mood swings and stuff. Premenstrual syndrome was really big for me. I wish I knew about weight, what happens to your weight as you change from childhood. You know, you go from being like literally straight and suddenly you've got curves, but also what the environment around you starts to change and how they look at you. That was very awkward for me. And I didn't know how to articulate that to my parents at the time. I didn't have the language, and they never really asked about it.
Talk to us about, you know, what putting this book together taught you about yourself.
Putting this book together taught me especially that I can be a little bit kinder on my mother. Right? There was a really big tiff about how she kind of delivered the news when I told her, you know, I'd started my period, and it was like, here, packet of pads, you know, kind of thing. But as a 13-year-old then, there are wounds that sit in that space because you're like, I wanted more from my parents. I wish you had given me a better space. I think when I look back writing this and I look at what she was dealing with as a young mom at the time, I can have a lot of empathy and grace. And I think that's also why we specifically wanted to cater for the parents as well and not just the child.
I believe there's a hygiene bag and journal that accompanies the book. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes. I got this, again, because I live with my daughter, and I look at sometimes some of the things, a bit clumsy here and there, and I was like, the hardest thing that she could experience is having a period start at school and she's not prepared. And I thought it would be nice if I could just help her pack the bag, keep it in her school bag indefinitely until she actually starts her period. And long behold, it actually did, and she had the bag. So for me, that was like, I wish parents would understand that because we never know when our period is going to come, excuse me, we never know when the period is going to come, and it can cause a lot of anxiety. I saw particularly a friend of mine back in primary school, she had that accident, and it's something that could scar somebody for a very long time. So the bag was specifically for that. You don't have to have accident. We can be more prepared.
Yeah.
And if we've had the conversation.
What is in this bag?
So in the bag, we basically teach. So in the book, we talk about what to pack inside. So it's all the things you need to change. So it would be a change of a clean underwear, clean sanitary product, a sort of like a disposable bag. And also you're thinking about kids who may have, toilets or bathroom in their schools that are not suitable for throwing away. So they are able to throw appropriately, because also protecting our environment is still important. Painkillers, but also a name tag to say who is your contact emergency person. You'll find a girl struggling with, say, menstrual cramps at school, and in some instances we don't know who to contact. So it's all of those things that make one, it's practical, it's functional, sanitizer, hand sanitizer, clean before and clean after. But also it's got that level of, I wanted to bring out that celebratory sense for girls. It's nice, it's pink, it's cute. I want every girl to feel like starting your period is not something to be dreaded, but something absolutely beautiful. And you can look forward to it, because if you're prepared, you'll be just fine.
Yeah. And, how will this book help for, we live in a country where some children don't go to school because they don't have, sanitary towels.
Yeah.
What would reading a book like this do for somebody like that?
I think even more and above, even more than for the kids themselves. I think it is, for me, it was also a call to action for everybody. We often give sanitary towels, but we don't give the information around it. So it's plugging the information gap around, okay, so, I remember being given a set of pads and not knowing which direction the wings go, or how to use a tampon, or how to use, so it's closing the gap in terms of information, because it's one thing for us to rally up and give sanitaries, but if we don't have the information, sometimes things fall through the cracks. Yeah.
What does your 13-year-old think of this book?
Oh, she loves it. She was pretty chuffed. She was literally like the one running the show at our book launch, and I love that for her. We had a lot of girls, a lot of her friends as well, and for me that was, my heart is full, because it means we have touched the heart of the people who needed this book the most.
Do you feel like you've put in enough in the book? Is there more information that you think you left out?
Yeah.
Like, in terms of, would there be a second book? I'm moving in that direction.
There would definitely be a second book. There would definitely be a continuation of these conversations. And the reality is, especially somebody who might be clued up in the clinical aspects of things, there's a lot of information that we sifted out, and we said, what are the most important things that we would want the girls to know right now? And we've put those in. There will be plenty more editions. I get asked a lot about the boys one, and I said, I heard we'll get some of our good friends who are urologists, who are more versed with the male anatomy, to assist in us putting that together, because I think it is just as important for boys to have something like this as it is for girls.
That is so true. All right, so where's the book available?
The book is available at exclusive books, so around the country, all the exclusive books, it is available. But also you can order online at www.publisher.co.za, or at our offices. I'm based at Morningside Medic Clinic, corner Rivonia and Hill Road, and we've got stock in our offices.
All right. Dr. Mpume, thank you so much. Congratulations on the book. Thank you for coming through. Mommy, My Body's Changing, a Girl in Bloom's trusty handbook for Growing Up. Perfect book for those of us who have daughters. She's a sexologist, and we spoke to her about her book.